The real
Welcome.
authentic.
I'm your host. I go by the name of Mr. Authentic, aka Timbo Payne. And today I want to talk about spiritually transmitted diseases. That's a metaphor for destructive patterns passed down through intimacy when desire outruns wisdom. It speaks about the way habits, wounds, compulsions, and manipulative energies can spread through close relationships, especially sexual ones. In many religious traditions, the spirit of Jezebel symbolizes seduction, control, vanity, deception, hostility toward truth, and the use of charm as a weapon. This warning ain't about women as a whole, but about anybody, any person, male or female, who carries those traits and uses intimacy to dominate others. Sexual discipline matters because bodies separate faster than souls recover. A person can leave your room yet remain in your thoughts, your emotions, your finances, your confidence, and your future choices long after the encounter ends. Many people mistake attraction for revelation. Chemistry can feel like destiny while actually exposing unresolved hunger. Somebody operating in manipulation often studies weaknesses like loneliness, pride, insecureness, boredom, lust, resentment, curiosity, greed, or the desire to feel chosen. They mirror what you crave. Then they slowly convert affection into leverage. Compliments become hooks. Sympathy becomes strategy. Crisis becomes theater. Promises become fog. Boundaries become negotiable. If you ignore contradiction because the touch feels electric, you may later realize you were involved with a carefully designed performance rather than genuine character. Sexual discipline means testing words against actions, consistency against charisma, patience against pressure, and peace against emotional excitement before granting access to your body and your private life. Sex joins more than skin. It can reinforce emotional contracts already forming beneath conversation. If the hidden agreement says, "I must betray myself to keep you," intimacy deepens that lie. If it says, "I can save you by tolerating chaos," passion feeds delusion. If it says, "I deserve shortcuts without consequences," desire becomes a tyrant. Wise discipline asks, what covenant is being written in silence? Pleasure may be brief, but the internal agreements it strengthens can last for years. Some people leave encounters more confused, less focused, and strangely dependent because they bonded through fantasy instead of truth. Where truth is absent, attachment can become a chain dressed as romance. The Jezebel pattern often resists accountability. It may seduce, then blame. It may provoke jealousy, then call you insecure. It may invite pursuit, then mock devotion. It may demand transparency while hiding its own motives. It thrives where standards are weak and where guilt can be exploited. Such dynamics drain energy because you spend your strength decoding mixed signals instead of building a stable life. Sexual discipline protects clarity. It allows you to observe behavior without being trapped by appetite. It allows you to walk away from beauty without bitterness because you value peace more than stimulation. Real power ain't getting everyone you desire. It is refusing what can destroy your direction. One symptom of spiritual disease is fragmentation. After certain encounters, some people notice scattered focus, fading ambition, unusual shame, irritability, secrecy, compulsive thinking, or emotional numbness. This don't mean a mystical curse automatically transferred through touch. Often it means intimacy amplified unresolved issues already present in both people. Yet the effect can feel spiritual because it reaches identity, motivation, and conscience. A reckless connection can disturb sleep, distract purpose, strain friendship, damage reputation, and normalize behavior once considered unacceptable. Repetition then hardens the pattern. What once shocked you becomes ordinary. What once offended conscience becomes entertainment. Discipline interrupts that drift before decline becomes a lifestyle. Another symptom is counterfeit intimacy. You may feel deeply connected while knowing almost nothing substantial about the person. There is access without trust, heat without honesty, closeness without safety, intensity without responsibility. This false union can be addictive because it gives immediate sensation without the slower work of commitment. But whatever skips formation usually skips stability. When storms arrive, there is no foundation beneath the excitement. Sexual discipline honors sequence, conversation before vulnerability, character before access, consistency before promises, commitment before deep entanglement. Mature love ain't allergic to waiting. It understands that timing can protect what passion alone can't sustain. So how can we guard against such sexually transmitted diseases? First of all, we got to govern our appetite. And I can't lie, I have a problem with that because I love pussy. That's why I had to do research on this subject so I can understand myself better and then acquire the discipline necessary. Because ain't nothing wrong with loving pussy. Ain't nothing wrong with enjoying sex because that's what God created it for. He created it for us to reproduce and for us to enjoy it. The enjoyment of sex is going to ensure that we continue to reproduce. But in order to guard against these diseases, we got to govern our appetite because hunger makes people call danger beautiful. Second, we got to observe patterns, not speeches. Third, don't ever confuse being desired with being valued because they two different things. Fourth, keep private pain from driving public choices. Fifth, refuse relationships built in secrecy, triangulation, or competition. Sixth, maintain friendships and mentors who can challenge your blind spots. Seventh, avoid intoxication of body or ego when making romantic decisions. 8. Honor your schedule, your finances, and your purpose. Chaos often enters through neglected gates. 9th, practice celibacy or restraint seasons when judgment has grown weak. 10th, pray, meditate, contemplate, reflect, and tell yourself the truth, even when the truth costs you pleasure. Some people imagine discipline is repression, but in all reality, discipline is directed freedom. A river with banks can generate power. Flood water only destroys. Desire itself ain't evil. Attraction is human. Beauty is real. Longing for companionship is natural. The danger begins when desire rules instead of serving wisdom. Undisciplined passion makes promises your character can't keep. It borrows joy from tomorrow to fund indulgence today. Discipline, on the other hand, trains desire to cooperate with values. It teaches the body to respect what the soul knows. It allows a person to enjoy intimacy as a gift rather than use it as anesthesia, status symbol, revenge, or escape from emptiness or loss. Healing after unhealthy bonds requires honesty. You may need to grieve not only the person, but the fantasy attached to them. You may need to admit that warning signs were visible and you ignored them. You may need distance, counseling, prayer, confession, restitution, or practical changes in environment. Sometimes you got to delete numbers. Sometimes you got to change routine. Sometimes you got to stop revisiting memories that function like drugs. Rebuild neglected goals. Strengthen sleep, health, finances, and friendship. Replace secrecy with accountability. The mind that once replayed temptation can be retrained to pursue purpose. Shame says you are finished. Wisdom says you were taught through that pain. Growth begins when lessons become practices rather than slogans. It is also crucial to reject misogyny disguised as spirituality. Not every confident woman is Jezebel. Not every attractive person is dangerous. Not every failed relationship involved demonic manipulation. Sometimes two immature people simply made poor choices. The symbol of Jezebel refers to patterns of domination, deception, and rebellion against truth, not to femininity itself. Many honorable women embody wisdom, loyalty, courage, tenderness. discipline, and faithfulness. At the same time, many men carry manipulative spirits while blaming women for their own lack of restraint. Real discernment is fair, specific, and rooted in evidence. It judges behavior, not gender, fruit, not stereotypes, and patterns, not prejudice. Sexual discipline is less about denial and more about stewardship. Your body is a gate. Your mind is a garden. Your future is a house under construction. Not everybody should receive keys, seeds, or blueprints. Guarding access is not fear, it is wisdom. Refusing corrupt intimacy ain't weakness, it is strength under command. The person who can say no when temptation is loud is freer than the person who says yes to everything. Spiritually transmitted diseases lose power where self-respect, discernment, truth, patience, and sacred boundaries are practiced daily. Choose peace over thrill, and your life will remain whole. Now I want to relate quantum entanglement to spiritually transmitted disease. Quantum entanglement, in plain English, means two tiny particles become linked, so they must be described together. Even when separated, measuring one is connected to what can be measured in the other. It does not mean thoughts, emotions, or energy are magically sent across space. It is a real physics effect seen in controlled experiments at the microscopic level. A simple way to think about it is this. Instead of being two separate coins, the pair behaves like one system with two parts. The same way people relate to sex sometimes. Some people use entanglement as a metaphor for sexual relationships because intimacy can create strong connection between people. Emotional bonds, attachment, trust or trauma, shared habits, long-term psychological effects, social consequences like family, reputation, responsibility. In that metaphor, people mean you don't always walk away unchanged after you have been deeply intimate with somebody. But the term is used metaphorically to describe things they believe can spread through unhealthy relationships such as emotional pain, manipulation, shame, destructive patterns, unresolved trauma, toxic beliefs, guilt, or fear. Those are real human experiences, but they are psychological, relational, or cultural. We have to understand that sex can connect people deeply because of hormones, vulnerability, memory, attachment, and consequences. So, like I said, I love pussy, and most of us love sex. Sex ain't wrong, but we do have to guard ourselves from having sex with the wrong people. And with that being said, all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God. And guess what? Man, y'all be blessed out there, and y'all protect y'all temples at all costs.
The real authentic.
I'm out.